Perfect timing. Hi, Mary Beth. Hi, Ann.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Oh, and how are you, Aaliyah?
Pretty good.
Good.
And Joan?
We're all pretty good.
Yeah.
We're all glad to be here. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. There it is.
You got it
They
working?
moved the meeting
Oh,
is being recorded on. I was being recorded, but I don't know where it was. It's way at the top of my screen now. They changed this
top left
stuff.
for me.
Mhm.
Where is
Recording
this
now.
stuff? Yeah.
Top left for me. I can see the recording thing.
Top left. So you both have top left. I had just a right across the top.
Yeah,
Mhm.
same with me.
So it was so mine is a Windows
Oh,
computer. So it's different computers do different things. Hey.
Yeah, fun, huh?
Not boring. No,
Never boring.
that's
Never.
it.
So, Lee, you guys went on a scavenger hunt this afternoon, huh?
Mhm.
That's fun.
Treasure hunt. Yeah.
Treasure hunt. That's what I call shopping, too. It's
Yes,
food.
got some things for Nana's birthday today. There, when I finally got an ad for her, she was
Yeah.
all, "No, I don't like those kind," and she wasn't gonna eat them right there.
Ah,
Yeah, she's 4 years old, so that means she's 21.
Uh-huh.
that's right. Four times
Times
seven,
7,
28,
right?
28. 4, 7, yeah.
4 times 7 is 28.
Wow.
There she's 28. Woohoo. Better.
Ah, yeah, zero's going to be 44 this month. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Should I shut the window behind me? Is that too much light?
I mean, it seems
You're not in a light thing. I'm in a light thing, and I can make it a little bit better, but
Oh, yours
yeah.
works. Yours works.
Oh,
We can
good.
see. And Mary Beth, how are you doing?
Okay, I forgot. I told Aaliyah to send out a text the day of the event because I think last time was the time I forgot.
yeah.
Yeah,
go.
I need reminders of things, so it helps have
Me
these.
too.
I printed out to try to do that, but I have Aaliyah's reminder. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think anybody else is going to check in, Aaliyah, or should we start?
let's go ahead and start. And so let's look at Romans 12, which is the next verse in Romans 12. If somebody could look that up and read it.
So, for though the grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, not to think more highly of himself than he ought to think, but to think so as to have sound judgment, as God has allotted to each a measure of faith.
Huh. You know what that reminds me of? I just did a unit on Denmark and janteloven, janteloven, but janteloven means you have no one is any worse than you are. No one is any better than you are. You're all equal, which is similar to what you're saying.
Janteloven.
No one is better than anyone else.
Good.
That's a good national habit.
Mhm.
All even, all the same,
Yeah.
all on the same level. Good thinking.
Good,
Yeah.
and good beer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
What grace has been given to you?
Wow.
One of my things was persistence, which I knew as stubbornness.
Mhm.
But then
Persistence is
also it's
there.
persistence. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, so it can be two sides, can be the same thing that's a grace,
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel like it all the time, but it's like, yeah.
And sometimes it's good to
Stick to
recognize both sides of it, that sometimes it can be a good, and in some situation it can be something that may not be applicable to that situation. So you have to be aware that, okay,
Oh,
sometimes
right.
I can apply my stubbornness where it's good, and sometimes I have to rethink and think about everybody's perspectives and rethink my own stubbornness. Do I really need to apply it to that, you know?
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, right. It's not
I guess
appropriate
from
here.
the definition of grace, at least like Grace Lutheran Church, grace is forgiveness. So when I think of the word grace, I think,
Grace is from the Proto-Indo-European word for joy. Charis, grace, is something that you're doing because you enjoy it. So like
yeah,
if you're celebrating something and you decide what you want to do to celebrate is give people presents, those are grace.
yeah,
So God
yeah,
decided to give us salvation out of his own joy in doing that act. So they're grace.
and God enjoys us doing these things to help other people. So that's
Mhm,
grace as well.
mhm.
So maybe for me, it might just be an awareness of gardening and plants
Yes.
and a
Mhm.
loving of plants.
Yeah,
And really, when you're really connecting with plants, I look at a plant, I don't know what to do with it, but yeah, I should bring plants over and go, Joe, tell me.
we just
That's a
watched
good
the first
idea.
of the hummingbirds go to the hummingbird sage, which we've been waiting for what, 2 years? It's nice, it's like, hey, they're coming back, and that's nice to see that.
Mhm.
Hummingbirds are graceful.
That is a great.
That is a very pretty plant. I remember seeing that in Mom's garden. It's a very pretty plant, and it's
It's
good for
huge.
it to be useful for that as well as being sage and being pretty. So
Yeah.
glad to see
That's
that.
one of the things I say about grace is actually I saw a hummingbird today, or I saw a butterfly today. Butterflies used to have an S on them, but now it's like one. I say butterfly.
Never,
Now they
I
are
don't know, it's the same butterfly.
non-countdown, a
You never see
mass
them together.
noun, huh?
What did you say, Ellie? I didn't quite
Now
understand.
butterflies are currently a non-countdown, a mass noun, which means if you say butterfly, you don't necessarily mean just one butterfly. You could mean multiple butterflies, but
Oh, okay.
Oh,
It's
if,
interesting.
like if
Yeah.
you say water, you don't mean one atom of water. You mean some quantity of water,
Nothing
unspecified.
to, not to
Okay.
speak.
Well, that's true.
even
But
for.
when I see butterflies, I tend to see one butterfly. That's
Uh-huh.
it. A lot of time. So Dan,
Well,
you
the
said
dropping
something.
of the S indicates that most people aren't thinking of it as a count now. They aren't
That's
thinking of it as
singular.
something you need to specify whether or not it's plural.
Oh, okay.
Most people are
Right.
thinking of it as a mass noun, as a non-count noun. They're thinking that butterfly can mean any number of butterflies you want it to mean.
Let's hear there's more. That's what we need. For me, I was just talking about the twin sisters, California sisters that we're starting to see come back. And that's nice. Butterflies, and they're orange. The white ones ain't butterflies, they're moths, but the orange ones really are butterflies.
Mhm.
Okay. That's
Ah,
Yeah, monarch
Nice.
butterflies are definitely butterflies, yeah. And I know they like the flowers in Mom's yards as butterflies do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
especially the passion flower.
And she thinks she
Yes.
doesn't have a green thumb.
Well,
And the bees love them too. Just
Yeah, these big black
especially
bees,
lavender.
how they stay in the
Yes.
air. These huge bees fly slowly by and
Mhm.
they don't bother anybody, but how do you stay in the air? Little wings, huge body. God is a comedian.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I think so. It's like you're laughing.
Ah,
So let's look at Romans 12, 6-8, where Paul expands on what gifts grace God gives us. So somebody look at Romans 12, verses 6-8.
having gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, let us use them. If prophecy, in proportion to our faith. If service, in our serving. He who teaches, in his teaching. He who exhorts, in his exhortation. He who contributes, in liberality. He who gives aid, with zeal. He who does acts of mercy, with cheerfulness.
So some people will see something on this list that matches their gifts and some won't. So if you identify with one of the gifts on this list, you can share about it. So
Well, I
does
think all
anybody
of
here
us-
identify with any of the gifts on the list?
okay, I think all of us to some extent can do the last one, to show mercy with cheerfulness. You don't have to be able to be a great teacher to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would say that, and then service would be the other one that I could say applies to me.
Mm-hmm.
And at some points in my life, I have actually been a teacher, though I have not really taught many spiritual lessons, but yeah.
Mary Beth, I don't know if you've done teaching, but at least three of us
Oh,
have.
yeah.
You have too.
It used to be teaching, but right now I've got several friends that are in difficult places. They're sick or they're in the hospital. So it seems like I'm serving because I'm taking meals and
All right.
visiting.
And that would also apply to give with generosity.
Yeah.
Give
Yeah.
your time to those
Yeah.
people.
Right.
Important factor.
Yeah.
And
And I have
sometimes
to say,
identification be aspiration, like I hope I have teaching gifts, and I try to pursue opportunities for growing and teaching. And I mean, I sort of hope I'm doing a good job, but I can't say I'm definitely gifted in that because I don't really know for certain. I'm just doing the best I can
yeah.
because I would like that to be my gift. So
Yeah.
in some ways where it can just be.
Yeah, I think each of us can do as best we can. All we can, and I keep reading people's readings that we are called to do what we can,
Mm-hmm.
not to be worried about I
Uh-huh.
can. Okay,
So
what
the
can I
problem with
do?
those
And then I
can't
keep.
say anything special on this list seems to be really them. But God doesn't limit himself to just a set list. God does whatever he wants to give. So
Yeah.
you can be aware that
And
God will give some people other gifts and that there'll still be.
Yeah. Welcome, Nadine.
That as
Nadine,
3, Paul was first warning people not to think better themselves than they ought, but to be rational in their evaluation of the gifts. So what sort of gifts would be a temptation to pride?
oh. Huh.
Well, I think if you're a teacher in front of large audiences, that might make you feel proud of it. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I
Humble and
think
proud.
it depends somewhat on the feedback you get, because if if you teach or something or whatever you do and people praise you, then you may get a better opinion of yourself than you should have. But if it falls flat, whatever you're doing, then you may think, oh, I can't do this, I'm a nobody, So to me, it's very hard to keep from feeling better or worse than I should feel. I'm going one way or the other.
Yeah, so sometimes, you got to wait to see what feedback God will give you, because you never can rely on human feedback to be dependable.
Right.
I would love it if God were like my students. At the end of the class, they applaud. It'd be great if they applauded what you're doing. I teach senior citizens. I teach 3 different classes of seniors.
Oh,
I'm
what do you teach? What do you teach them?
I teach travel for Foothill College. So each week is a
Wow.
different country. We just did Brazil. I'm going to do New Zealand next week. We've done Australia. We've done this is all this semester. Nicaragua, Peru. Everyone we do
Wow.
we do a talk, and I could not do it without Joan's editing skills. She makes it hang together, and that helps. And then I present it because it's okay to present. That's a teach skill. I'd like to teach.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Joan, you're a great editor to really get how to make that better.
Anybody get something into my skull has got to be pretty good.
So before we go on to the next verse, I want to give a trigger warning for it. If somebody reads from the thing I sent out, I think I have legacy standard here. which has a peculiarity that when it encounters a tetragrammaton, meaning the 4 letters signifying the name of God, it actually gives them a spelling that can be pronounced. I don't think it has the right spelling, but whatever, they're clearly intending to try to say the name of God. So if you don't want to hear that, maybe plug your ears for the next little minute and look it up in your own translation, because we're going to look at Deuteronomy 7:9. And if somebody reads that from the email I sent out, it does have that.
Oh, I see. It says Yahweh and it's that.
Yeah. Which I know not everybody feels that's respectful. And there's reasons why we want to be respectful for God, and it's genuine. There's reasons why you would not want to say his name when he hadn't asked you to say it. So it's perfectly understandable if you don't want to participate on that. And so maybe we can ask somebody to look that up in their own version, because most versions will not do this. So
Anybody handy?
just grab a random
Deuteronomy
version. There's a good
7:9.
chance Deuteronomy 7:9 will not do that.
Well, I have the New English Bible here, or New King James part.
Yeah,
Grab it.
probably has. Yeah, that should probably be okay. Can you read Deuteronomy 7:9 from that?
Therefore, know that the Lord, so that's what they've used for
Yeah,
God.
yeah, that's
The Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenant and mercy for 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments.
Sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
1,000
It's
generations.
just so the Hebrew there has the tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vod He, that stands for the name of God. And most of the time, someone reading it will not try to pronounce it. And we don't
Right.
even know for certain what the correct pronunciation is, but some translations will go ahead and make an attempt at it. I think the one I have, I do not think that is the correct way to pronounce it, but
I don't
What-
think that's the correct way to do
There's another one
something if
too.
we
You say, blessed
said
art thou.
don't pronounce it.
It's Baruch atah Adonai. Adonai just means name of God.
Yeah.
It's not saying God. It's just saying name of God, which is, and if you realize Yahweh is a word with no consonant, with no sound to it. Just, there's no anything else.
Yeah, I like
You
that.
need to
It's a
use your
breathing
lips
one.
or tongue to say it.
That's it. Thank you. Say that again. I
You
knew
don't
that.
need to use your lips or tongue to say
Yeah.
Yahweh,
Oh.
Yahweh, Yah.
The first Bibles I had when I was a kid were in Hebrew and they had no vowels. And it kind of turned me off completely to figure out how to put the vowels into this. It made a little more sense when the vowels were snuck on top and snuck on the bottom. So kind of a sense of what they were.
Because if somebody had memorized the verse already, just seeing the consonants would trigger them not to be able to say it.
Exactly. It's enough.
That
for
was the
them
old
to
way
see
they
it.
used to do it. People would just memorize it and then just seeing the consonants, they could read from that because they already knew what the vowels were supposed to be there.
Like I say, the first world's teleprompter. How do you say this in a different way?
And there was a way to respect God by not saying the actual name of God. So they didn't put the vowels in that because they want to remember people, hey, you're not actually supposed to pronounce that one.
No taking the Lord's name in vain. I guess what I'm getting out of this, you get different phrases out of what we read, and the whole point of forgiveness, which to me, is faith, is really letting go of whatever you're getting ticked at in someone else or in yourself, and really letting go of it. Sometimes it's possible easily, and sometimes isn't.
Learning to really let go. I like that.
And sometimes that comes from just trusting that God is going to be in control.
Yeah.
And you don't have to micromanage what God is doing.
That's right. Let go and let God.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that.
Just, you do it. I get it. Yeah.
little water goes a long way.
Water, very helpful. I'm grateful we have some. Yep.
Guess what I should be adding to my morning meditations or evening meditations is forgiveness. I just kind of go to blank and let God do the rest. But I should be adding in that component of forgiveness both for me and for anyone else. It's just hard. I don't want to make it specific. When I praying in meditation is praying without words.
Yes.
It changes it when you start this one and that one, and because you're trying just to be quiet.
I mean, I do find it helpful in my prayer and meditation to do a time of confession where I go through and confess and let go of anything that I want out of my
Yes.
life and accept
Yes.
God's forgiveness of it, because that's the of letting go of specific things that are hindering me so that I can.
Yeah, not getting attached.
Mhm.
It ain't easy.
But then I go to okay, so now it's trying to just be here, to be with God. Listen. Yeah.
Huh.
But it helps to get things out of the way first to go
Yeah.
through.
To me, meditation isn't a constant quiet for 20 minutes. It's a constant pulling back and, oh, I'm thinking again, pulling back and an active action to be able to be
Yeah,
quiet.
keep coming back. Okay,
It works.
just come back. Just come back. I remember somebody talking about that a superior was showing up at the airport and he was going to go pick him up. Okay, I have to go pick up this person, and am I going to do this right? And then he was worried. He kept coming back to worry and kept coming back to worry. But the whole thing went very well because he was doing his meditation before, coming back to letting go and keeping coming back to letting go, and he was able to let go by the time the person showed up. So, yeah.
Basil Pennington?
Yes.
Is that Basil Pennington? Yeah. Amazing guy. I remember him teaching that is it's okay if you can't stay on track all the time when you're meditating. You're still meditating. It's all right.
Yeah, and somebody said, apparently somebody said to Thomas Keating said, you get more chances to come back.
I like that.
So let's look at 1 Peter 4:10.
Who's
Say
up
it again?
1
Peter
Peter
4:10?
4:10.
First Peter
1 Peter, yes.
4:10. Okay.
It's towards the end of the epistles. It's towards the end of the New Testament. It's 1 Peter.
First Peter. Oops, and I found it, and then I just dropped it. Okay.
It is a small book. You can flip by quick.
First Peter. Yeah.
Peter's also like rock, right? Isn't Peter rock?
Yes.
Peter, yes, in Greek means rock or stone or mountain.
Which I think half in Spanish and English. Piedra is a rock.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter's very close to
First
Piedra.
Peter 4:10.
Huh.
I found
Yes.
First Peter now. Hey, we're up.
Never thought of that.
And I didn't drop it this time. First Peter 4:10.
Dropping names again, huh?
Yeah, I can drop names and all kinds of things. 10.
Oh, there she goes.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, as each one has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. As each one has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Yes, God is assuring us that yes, everyone has received some sort of gift from God. We
And
may
we
not
don't
know
all have to
exactly
have
what
the
it may
same
be
gifts.
on a list, but we have received gifts from God, and their purpose is to serve one another.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that's all part of God's grace to us, His joy in us and through us is the use of these gifts in serving one another.
Mm.
And below here I think, I'm not sure if it copied into the email or not, but I have a quote that I found on Pastor Michael's Facebook page
Let's hear.
from one of his mentors. And it says, the disciples came back to Jesus rejoicing that even the demons submitted to them in Christ's name. Jesus flatly told them not to rejoice in this period. Rejoice instead, he said, that your names are written in heaven. In other words, to rejoice in what God has done for you, not to rejoice in what God has done through you. So not focus on what spectacular special gifts God has given you, but just the general grace that he's given to everyone of salvation. Because I can say with certain that that's available to everyone, and everybody can just claim that gift and receive it. And you don't have to worry about whether God has given it to you. He has. And
Yeah.
it's just as special to have God do something for you as for God to do something in a way that makes you special and stand out.
God can do
God has
something
in
for
his
me.
specially said, yes, but you are going to be with me in heaven. That's special in some way too. And we can rejoice in that without having to worry about all this idea of, well, will other people praise me for it or not?
Oh, yeah, right.
It's not relevant to that at all.
It's like God's giving you this great gift, so be humble about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So next week we'll be looking at Romans 12, 9 and 10.
Romans 12.
I've got
9 to
that
10.
here.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So we can have a sneak peek at what we'll be talking about.
Okay. So 9 and 10. Let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be kindly affectionate to one another with brotherly love, in honor giving preference to one another, not lagging in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Did you want me to go any further?
No, that's fine. So we'll be looking at those verses next week and talking about what they mean. Okay, I'll turn the recording off now so we can have our prayer time.
Thank you.